Guys, and welcome to my first screencast video. As you can see, I'm at the Apple page right now, so this video is going to be about Apple's new products released at the first day of WWDC 2012 on the 11th of June. So we shall start all the way on the left with the new MacBook Air. As it states, it's even faster than it looks now. I'm actually just going to change the web page to load up the UK web page where I'm based, so I get some UK pricing available. The outside architecture of the MacBook Air hasn't changed. It's still the same. You get the same display, same keyboard, same trackpad, and same sizes of 11-inch or 13-inch. What has changed is the performance features, so we should go to the tech specs page to show you that. Right, you can now get up to 512 gigabytes of flash storage compared to the max that was 256 before. And the processors are now the Core i5 or Core i7 third generation Ivy Bridge processors. So on the 11-inch it starts at a 1.7 GHz Core i5 with turbo boost up to 2.6. And you can put the 2 GHz Core i7 in there as well. In the 13-inch you get 1.8 Core i5 dual core CPU. Both are dual core CPUs, and it's up to 2.8 GHz on the turbo boost. Same again, configurable up to the i7 with 2 GHz and 3.2 GHz. Clock speed, both still have the 4 gig of RAM, configurable up to 8. Both have the same HD 4000 graphics that are higher than the previous graphics. It now gets a 720p FaceTime HD camera and Bluetooth 4.0 included. But we still managed to keep on the 13-inch model the 7 hours of battery life. Whereas the 11-inch model still keeps its 5 hours wireless and web. They both have the same 45 watt MagSafe 2 power connector. Sorry, this is a new one. This is a MagSafe 2. Slightly smaller than the old one. I don't know whether the old connectors will still work with it, or these new connectors will work with the old ones, or we're going to have to start buying different ones for different Mac ranges on there. It comes with OS X Lion, but Mountain Lion is coming out soon, and you'll get a free upgrade if you buy a computer from now on. And it's the same thing in the boxes. As at the bottom you can see here the configurable items you can put into the MacBook Airs. Right, we should now move on back to the Mac page and onto the MacBook Pro. Now here we can see the animation of the new MacBook Pro, or what they call the next generation MacBook Pro. This has changed completely compared to the last MacBook Pro. It's now as thin as the MacBook Air at its cheese wedge sort of design at the thick end near the display hinge. It's the same thickness as that all the way across. So it's slightly thicker at the front than the MacBook Air. Very similar to how the MacBook Pro is in the current models previous to this one. So we have a look at the gallery. You can see along the front looks very similar. Slightly more curved edges, slightly more curve on the top and the bottom. On the left hand side we have the new smaller MagSafe 2 power connector, 2 Thunderbolt ports, one USB port that's USB 3 and USB 2 compatible, and headphone jack, and that looks either to be speakers or air vent grills. on that side. The next image we have now is shown with the MacBook Pro next generation open with the display listed. This is a 220 pixels per inch, a 2880 by 1800 pixel display called the Retina display. It only comes in a 15.4 inch diagonal LED backlit size. Right, the next part we can see is the same side again, with showing off one of their new wallpapers in Aperture. Now we can see both sides with a MacBook Pro next generation back to back. So on the right hand side we have another USB 3.0 port, and something very new for any Apple product, a full HDMI port. Something that has not been seen on a MacBook Pro, MacBook Air, polycarbonate MacBook, Mac Pro, unless you put in a third-party card, or an iMac ever before. It's something that a lot of people have been asking for a long time, to simply plug in a HD TV to their MacBook Pro or MacBook or iMac. And then we have an SD card reader. Saying it's showing you again the ports on the side, and saying that the SD card is an SD XC that can take up to 64 gigabytes of storage. Okay, so we should close down the gallery now and go and have a look at the full tech specs. So we start with the MacBook Pro Retina display. It comes in two models within that, both the 15.4 inch size. There is no 13 inch or 17 inch available in the new MacBook Pro with Retina display. Right, so they start at £1,799 or £2,299 depending on the base configuration. So the base model of this is a 2.3 GHz quad-core i7 with turbo boost up to 3.3 GHz, and you can get in the second model you can get a 2.6 GHz quad-core i7 with boost up until 3.6. That's also configurable to a 2.7 GHz i7 with a 3.7 GHz turbo boost. Both come with 8 GB of 1600 MHz faster speed memory, configurable up to 16 GB. It notices here it's an on-board memory, so I'm reckoning that you will not be able to open this, very similar to you can't open the current MacBook Air, so it won't be memorable memory sticks. So if you want to be configured to have more memory, you'll need to do this at the factory. That's something we need to confirm on later. The base model comes with 256 GB of flash storage, and the second model comes at 512 with an upgrade to 768 GB of flash storage. So that size and weight is 1.8 centimeters high by only 35.89 centimeters wide. This is very much the similar size, width and depth as a current MacBook Pro that comes in as, let's check for you. Yep, so the width on a old MacBook Pro is 32.5 centimeters. This is slightly wider. The depth is 22.7 on the old one. So obviously this is 24.71, so it's slightly larger on that, but when you get to the height, only 1.8 centimeters high, whereas it was 2.41 high on the old. Same on the weight, it used to weigh 2.6 kilograms, 2.06 kilograms, but now weighs 2.02, so it weighs very similar as the previous model. It's like this. The graphics are now same as the MacBook Air, Intel HD 4000 graphics on board, with separate GT650M GeForce graphics with 1 GB of GDDR5 RAM, dual display and video monitoring support with those 2 Thunderbolt ports, and obviously you can use native mini DisplayPort out, DVI with an adapter, VGA with an adapter, and dual link DVI with an adapter as well, and obviously that HDMI. The camera is 720p FaceTime HD, and there's the expansion ports we spoke to about before. 802.11n wireless technology, A, B and G compatible with Bluetooth 4.0. It's got stereo speakers, dual microphones compared to the single microphone on the previous models, and the headphone port supports the Apple iPhone headset with remote and microphone, but that's the same as the previous models. My old 2009 13-inch worked with that. Same backlit keyboard as before. 7 hours of battery life, 30 hours of standby. It uses a 95 watt-hour lithium-ion battery and 85 watt MagSafe 2 power adapter with the cable management system. Okay, right, I shall go over to the MacBook Pro range without Retina display now. Now let's have a look at the MacBook Pros that have still kept the same form factor as the 2011, 2010 and 2009 models, but have upgraded their specs. So we have now lost completely from any MacBook laptop the 17-inch model at all. So there is no 17-inch model available from Apple. There may still be stocks of the previous generation MacBook Pro 17-inch, but no new models and no new processors available on them. So we start with the 13-inch one. They still start at $999 up until £1,249. Obviously there are upgrades for higher prices on that. And the 15-inch starts at $1,499 and $1,799 respectively for their models. In comparison to the MacBook Pro with Retina display, I'll just load up the UK website on my second window. We noticed that the base model with the 2.3 GHz quad-core processor is about £300 more than the equivalent 15-inch old style MacBook Pro. So for that money you're getting the Retina display and some other items. So we go down, we start with processors ranging from 2.5 GHz dual core up to 2.6 GHz quad core on the 13-inch model, starting with the lower one up to the 15-inch model on the higher one here. The top range one at nearly £1,800 is configurable up to a quad core 2.7 GHz processor, very similar to the new MacBook Pros ones as well. 4 to 8 gig of 1600 megahertz DDR3 RAM, configurable to 8 gig on 2 models. Because it's kept the same form factor, you get the same 5400 RPM SATA hard drive as standard, rather than the SSD that's only available in the new MacBook Pros. What you have got in here is you start from 500 gig on the base 13-inch model up to 750 base on the 15-inch model top range, and they can rate up until sort of 1 terabyte hard drives, but you do get all of the SSD options, solid state drive options, up to the including the half terabyte 512 gigabyte one. That is the top storage for the top model on the MacBook Pro, without adding options of the 768 gigabytes of storage. So you can still get SSD speeds with the bigger form factor if you wanted. Size and weight I went through before when comparing it to the other one. Graphics support, we now get a 650M with 512MB or 1GB of GDDR5 memory. It's dual display output again. You can see, if I don't know, it gives us an image of the side. It does. It only comes with one Thunderbolt port still on these, whereas the new one has two. So the dual displays is using dual adapters on there. It's continued to use the same MagSafe power port, 3 USB ports that are, sorry, 2 USB 3 ports up to 5 gigabits per second on there, SD card slot, and so wireless and 8211.N, A, B, G and N, Bluetooth 4.0 technology, the stereo speakers with the omnidirectional microphone, only single microphone in this compared to the dual microphones in the new model, and the same 7-hour battery life, but they use more, the chargers and the batteries are bigger in the new models compared to these, use less power due to the display, so very similar to how the new iPad still has the same resolution, same battery life as the iPad 2. It has such a more battery to take the extra power required from the display, giving you the same battery life at the end. This also means that the MagSafe power adapters are 60 watt on the 13 inch and 85 watt on the 15 inch. Obviously it comes with OS X Lion, and the Mountain Lion is a free upgrade if you buy from today onwards. Same warranty information as the other one, same items in the bag, in the box, and there's a list of the configure to order options. So if I will choose the top of the range 15 inch MacBook Pro and click the option to buy now, and I will spec up the highest model that you can. So I'll take MacBook Pro as my choice, 15 inch top of the range, and we will go for the top processor, the 512GB of solid state. We now get an option for high-res anti-glare widescreen display and glossy displays. Not sure what the actual high-res is. It just ups the pixels from 1440 by 900 to a 1680 by 1050 display. So you get 36% more pixels. So we will leave as the normal spec on there. We don't have a display, British keyboard, and that's that. So we can see that comes out at £2,759. So now on my second display, I shall choose a Retina display MacBook Pro, and I will start at the top model as well, and I will go to have the same 2.7 GHz processor, the same 8 gigs of RAM, save 512 GB of solid state. So when you max out a MacBook Pro 15 inch old style with the 2.7 GHz processor, the 512 GB solid state drive, like that, and you put the same processor in the new MacBook Pro with the Retina display, you actually find out that the MacBook Pro Retina display actually comes out cheaper. So you can see here the price for the 15 inch model with the old thick style architecture is £2,759 British pounds, and when we run across my other screen, the other one, you can see that it's only £2,488 for that. So it all depends on what you want. If you're going to buy the 512GB SSD because you want SSD speed to go with your processor, and you can do without an optical drive, you're much better off buying a new MacBook Pro. I'm going to call it the slim version, because for the amount of money you get better flash storage, because it's the same thing but it's a faster speed. You get the same amount of RAM at the same speed, same processor, but you get the lighter and smaller form factor with the same size screen, the better screen resolution, and the extra I/O ports like HDMI and 2 Thunderbolt ports rather than 1. Right, so this has been my screencast on the new Mac models. There will be one about Mac OS X Mountain Lion, and there will also be one on iOS 6 coming soon. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel.